Hello everyone and welcome to Top Cinema. Today on the channel we'll talk about the premieres that Netflix has prepared for the month of February, with great varied content for all tastes. If you like these types of videos, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can see all of our videos. Press the like button and share it with all your friends. Top Cinema, information on the go. This video will be divided into series first, movies later, and here, the exact minute when it begins. Finally, we're going to make it clear that we're only going to talk about the series in a generalized way and not about what happens in the new seasons, so we won't spoil it for you. Team Kaylee, Part 3, a comedy that focuses on a 19-year-old rich girl obsessed with selfies, called Kaylee Conrad. After committing several misdemeanors, Kaylee is sentenced to community service, leading a group for an extracurricular activity of a middle-class college. Tom Papa, You're Doing Great, new stand-up special where the comedian Tom Papa talks about obsessions with the body, social networks, pets, Staten Island, and more on this special from his native New Jersey. The Pharmacist, a mini-series that tells how a pharmacist in Louisiana risks everything to expose the terrible corruption behind the opioid crisis after the tragic death of his son. Cagaster of an Insect Cage. Set in a post-apocalyptic world, the strange disease known as Cagaster transforms humans into huge killer insects. Dragons, Rescue Riders Season 2. Two twins share a unique ability to communicate with dragons. Brother and sister lead a team of 5 young dragons who spend their days rescuing others and helping people in their adopted city of Hutsgalore. Lock and Key. After the murder of their father, 3 brothers move to a house with magic keys and hidden powers. This is an adaptation of a comic. My Holo Love. A woman met Holo, an artificial intelligence being that's always been by her side. It's a story of breathtaking loneliness and painful love, but also of slow growth. Better Call Saul Season 4, prequel to the series Breaking Bad, centered on the character of lawyer Saul Goodman 6 years before meeting Walter White. The series tells how a small-scale trouble finder, with problems reaching the end of the month, becomes a criminal lawyer. Narcos Mexico Season 2, series where we see the beginning of the Mexican drug war in the 80s that tells the rise of the Guadalajara cartel. Cable Girls, final season. Set in Madrid in 1928, it tells the story of 4 women who begin their working life in the national telephone company based in the city center. Chef Show Volume 3. Jon Favreau and Roy Choi embark on more trips full of delicious dishes and engaging conversations with famous chefs. Spectros. A teenager and his friends get caught between Brazilian spells and Japanese spirits in the middle of the neighborhood. Puerta 7, Argentina series with 8 episodes that investigates the well-known Argentine Brave Bars and their relationship with sports, politics, and organized crime. This fiction follows a woman who tries to overcome that world, which is dominated by men, corruption, and crime to regain the name of her family. Gentified. 3 Latino cousins deal with their differences as they strive to keep their grandfather's taqueria afloat in an increasingly boring Los Angeles neighborhood. Glitch Techs. 2 teenagers work in a video game store as a cover for their true mission, hunting digital monsters that have crossed into the real world. I Am Not Okay With This. A girl who's going through the typical school, family, and sexual problems will realize that she will have super unfortunate powers. Altered Carbon Season 2. Expected by many, the series takes place in the middle of the 25th century, a time when people no longer die, technically, but their minds and consciousness are transferred from one body to another. Followers. An inspiring actress has a stroke of luck thanks to Instagram and becomes an odyssey shared with many other Tokyo women who go after her dreams. Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. A new digital version of Pokemon where the legendary Mewtwo seeks revenge against those who want to exploit their powers. Babylon Berlin Season 3, series set in the German city in the explosive 20s. In the beginning of Nazism, follows a detective newly incorporated into the anti-vice unit of Berlin to investigate a case of pornography that relates to the Russian mafia. Formula 1 Drive to Survive Season 2. Drivers, directors, and teams of Formula 1 accelerate thoroughly on and off the track. The podium has 3 places, but the goal is 1: win. Queen Sono, series about a qualified South African spy who must deal with his personal life in crisis while facing the most dangerous mission of his life. Now, let's start with the movies. A Bad Mom's Christmas. 3 women will do everything possible to maintain their sanity when their respective mothers and grandmothers make an unexpected visit during Christmas. A Little Princess. The daughter of a British officer is mistreated by the cruel director of the boarding school after the report of his death. Back to the Future Part 3, third part of this science fiction saga that marked a before and after in cinema. Marty McFly and Doc return to live this latest adventure together. Blade Runner, The Final Cut. In a gloomy and rainy future, an ex-police returns to the service to search and destroy a group of androids that pretend to be human to find their creator and kill him. Cookie's Fortune. An older lady is found lifeless. Suspicions point to the woman in charge of her care, but will she be responsible, or was it just a suicide? Dear John. A soldier and a college girl fall in love, but their love is marked by the many dangerous destinations to which John must go. For 7 years, they basically communicate by letters, but this ends up bringing unexpected consequences. Dirty Harry. A detective disobeys his bosses and endangers innocent lives to capture a sniper in San Francisco. Driving Miss Daisy. An unfriendly and authoritative 72-year-old retired teacher, after suffering an accident driving her car, her son, who fears for her mother's life, hires a driver to take her for a ride. Elizabeth. Evocation of the first years of the reign of Elizabeth I of England. Isabel leaves the court and marches to Hatfield House, where she receives an appropriate education for her rank. Thanks to the protection of the king's sixth and last wife, she gradually regains a place in the royal court until she's proclaimed queen in 1558. Elizabeth, the Golden Age. Queen Elizabeth I of England faces treason within her own family while trying to prevent King Philip II of Spain, the great world power of the time, from reinstating Catholicism in England. Center Stage. Excited dance students train for a presentation on which it depends if they will receive a position in the ballet company. Fools Rush In. A privileged Anglo-Saxon and Protestant-class man from New York marries a fiery Latina when their one-night sexual encounter brings unforeseen consequences. Hancock. An unpopular superhero protects the citizens of Los Angeles, but causes great collateral damage after every heroic act he does, since he doesn't know how to control his true power. Love Jacked. A young woman has artistic ambitions, but her father wants an obedient daughter who runs the family store. Taking her independence one step further, the young woman decides to travel to Africa for inspiration and returns with a fiancé. The complete saga of Police Academy. The saga of these police officers and their academy is added to the platform, thus going through all the police phases where they will demonstrate what they're capable of. Purple Rain. A poor musician and tormented by family problems and struggles to survive his own anger. His talent takes refuge in his music and his relationship with a singer. The tension increases when his rival tries to conquer his girlfriend and obtain the exclusivity of the bar where they both sing. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Arriving home after fighting in the Crusades, the young Sir Robin of Locksley is in a very different situation from the one he left. Now his people are under a decree imposed by the sheriff that makes them all sunk in misery. Robin Hood will stop at nothing to give back to his people. Scary Movie 2. A tape to laugh without stopping with a plot that really doesn't matter. The most important part of all this is the amount of references to horror movies. Sex and the City 2. Fun, fashion, and friendship continue to define the lives of Carrie, Samantha, Charlotte, and Miranda. They have more than they expected, but when the combination of marriage and motherhood gets closer, the girls take an exotic vacation to Abu Dhabi. The Dirty Dozen. A high command of the U.S. Army selects and trains 12 dangerous criminals to make a raid on a Nazi fortress. The Notebook. In a nursing home, a man reads a woman a love story written in her old notebook. It's the story of two young teenagers from North Carolina who, despite living in two very different social environments, fell deeply in love and spent an unforgettable summer together before being separated first by their parents and later by the war. The Other Guys. Two very peculiar New York detectives who work in an office have for the first time the opportunity to investigate a real case, apparently of little importance. The Pianist. A Polish Jew, a professional pianist, fights for survival in Warsaw against the Nazi invasion. After having avoided deportation, the pianist must live hidden and constantly exposed to danger. Sordo. In 1944, a Spanish guerrilla who works in the mountains is deaf due to an accident that sabotaged one of the operations. Only in the face of danger will deafness always occupy him and become his worst enemy. Faith, Hope, and Love. Faith, newly divorced, participates in a dance contest to save her studio. There she meets Jimmy, who will help her regain her dreams. Uppity, the Willie T. Ribbs story. An in-depth profile of the life and career of Willie T. Ribbs, the controversial black driver who shattered the color barrier of professional auto racing and became the first black qualifier in the storied history of the Indy 500. Horse Girl, the lucid dreams of a misfit girl with a weakness for horses, crafts, and police series increasingly break into her daily life. The Ballad of Lefty Brown. A cowboy pretends to avenge the death of his friend, newly elected Senator Edward Johnson. In his efforts, he traces the vast prairies of Montana in search for the murderers, with the help of a young gunman and an old alcoholic comrade. Who killed Malcolm X? Decades after the assassination of African-American leader Malcolm X, an activist embarks on a complex mission to find the truth in the name of justice. The Coldest Game. A conflicting genius of mathematics ends up playing a game of chess between the US and the Soviet Union that puts the future of humanity in check. Polaroid. A lonely teenage girl bumps into an old Polaroid and soon discovers that the camera harbors a terrible secret. Anyone who takes a picture with it has a tragic and violent death. She and her friends must survive one night to solve the mystery of the haunted camera. Good Time. A bank robber stops at nothing to free his brother from prison and embarks on a nighttime odyssey in the dangerous criminal underworld of New York. Cue Ball. Inmates who are part of the San Quentin Warriors basketball team seek to redeem themselves from their troubled past. In a place where they have no freedom, basketball gives them a reason to continue. Anna Karenina. In St. Petersburg in the 19th century, the wife of a Russian imperial minister causes a scandal in high society because of her affair with Count Vronsky, a handsome cavalry officer. To all the boys, P.S. I still love you. Officially, Laura Jean and Peter are a couple. How cute love is, until someone else appears in Discord and doubts begin. Dragon Quest: Your Story. This is a 3D animated movie based on the Square Enix video game. Dragon Quest V: Hand of the Heavenly Bride premiered in Japan on August 2, 2019, and now comes to Netflix. The Shaun of the Sheep movie, Farmageddon. Strange lights glide over Mossingham's sky, announcing the arrival of visitors from a distant galaxy. But Shaun the sheep and the rest of the flock are still doing theirs, much in spite of their sheepdog. Izzy and Ozzy. The daughter of a millionaire pretends to have a relationship with a poor boxer to make her parents allow her to develop her culinary aspirations. Starship Troopers. In a future society, students are harangued to enlist in the army and become citizens. A young man gets ready to follow his girlfriend but will end up participating in a war against the insects of the planet Klendathu. A Haunted House. Film parody the saga Paranormal Activity, where a man is determined to prevent a demon from ruining his sex life and hires a priest, Ghostbusters, and others to banish the spirit that possesses his girlfriend. System Crasher. In her wild search for love, an energetic and indomitable 9-year-old is abandoned by her mother and lives with a foster family. She's going to take everyone around her to despair. Girl on the Third Floor. A man tries to renovate a ruined house with a great history behind it to make it habitable for his family. The only problem is that the house has its own plans for the family. Full Count. A series of unfortunate events forces a young man to put aside his dreams of becoming a professional baseball player and return to his hometown. There, he will face great problems. Every Time I Die. Sam's consciousness begins to travel through space after being killed, to enter the minds of his best friends in an attempt to prevent them from running their same fate. The tour ends up becoming a much bigger adventure than imagined, leading him to discover his true identity. The Angry Birds Movie 2. In this new adventure, both pigs and birds will have to join forces to deal with Zeta, because he has come from his icy island in search of a more comfortable place to live. But Red, Chuck, Bomb, and Leonard are going to have to fight against this new villain. All the Bright Places. Two teenagers with emotional traumas move away from the darkness together, based on the hit novel of the same name and starring Ellie Fanning and Justice Smith. La Trinchera Infinita. A place of reprisals, a Spanish Civil War fighter hides in his home for 33 years, film based on real events. Jerry Maguire. A sports agent tries to rebuild his career with the help of his loyal accountant and a selfish athlete. These are the Netflix premieres for February. Subscribe to stay up to date with all of our videos. Press the like button if you like the content and share it on your social networks. Thanks for watching our video. This is Top Cinema Information on the Go.